begin, though, with the new developments in the clash between former President Trump and the Justice Department over those classified documents.
A federal judge in Florida has granted Trump's request for a third-party arbiter known as a special master. That person will review the sensitive materials seized from the former president's Mar-A-Lago estate. Once appointed, the special master will screen for any documents protected by either attorney-client or executive privilege. It's a major setback to the Justice Department, temporarily blocking parts of its criminal investigation. We are covering it this morning with NBC News Justice correspondent Ryan Reilly and legal analyst Danny Cevallos. Good morning to both of you. Ryan, we'll start with you. So in that ruling, the judge, Aileen Cannon, a Trump appointee, talked about the unprecedented nature of this search. She wrote that as a former president, any indictment that relied on materials that should have been returned would result in, quote, reputational harm of a decidedly different order of magnitude. What more can you tell us about how the judge came to this decision?
You know, this is a pretty unprecedented decision because I think that, had her order been limited to just questions of attorney-client privilege, the Justice Department could have lived with it. But she went much further than that, and she went into this really unexplored area of the law in terms of executive privilege. Executive privilege rests with the current executive. That's, for anyone who didn't know, that's Joe Biden. So he's the one who gets to decide whether or not executive privilege would really apply in this situation. And Donald Trump had the opportunity to assert executive privilege over all of those documents he wasn't supposed to have that he turned over in January when the National Archives informed his counsel that the FBI was going to be examining those documents. And then later on, in response to a subpoena, he turned over more classified documents that he wasn't supposed to have. And then finally, on August 8th, when they finally searched it, they found all of these new materials, including 11,000 pages of government documents and hundreds of pages of classified documents that he wasn't supposed to have at his Mar-A-Lago compound. So really, a lot of this is pretty unprecedented, and it really could be important who they end up appointing as this special master, because they're going to have some really complicated issues, and it's not a job that many folks are going to want because they're obviously going to come under attack from Trump in the future.
Danny, let's bring you in here and tell us, so what does this ruling mean for the government's investigation? Is it likely we could see an appeal?
It means delay. It means the government is going to be halted, at least for the time being, in reviewing documents. Might we see an appeal? On the one hand, maybe. If the Trump team had lost, I guarantee they'd be appealing. That is their MO. That is their strategy. They appeal as far as they can, all the way up to the Supreme Court. But the government is in a slightly different position. They have to assess whether or not it is worth their while to appeal and potentially delay this even further. Can the government live with this existing delay, given that the government has already reviewed most of these documents? Yes, they gave some of them to a filter team, but the filter team is staffed by the government. So they've already reviewed all the documents. They can probably live with the delay. I'd be surprised to see if they appeal this.
So, Ryan, I mean, the judge specifically mentioned this ruling won't stop the intelligence community's ongoing assessment of whether those classified documents harmed national security. The FBI and Justice Department are, of course, part of the intelligence community. Help us understand who can review these materials and maybe how those parallel probes overlap.
Joe, it's a really good question, and I'm not sure it's one that the judge, this 41-year-old Trump appointee, really considered in depth here, because this is a really unexplored area, and it really is pretty unprecedented for a judge to issue an order which essentially prevents future investigation of materials that was lawfully seized. This was all lawfully done. Another judge approved this because there was plenty of probable cause that Donald Trump continued to hold these materials at his Mar-A-Lago estate, and that was in fact true because they showed up and they found all of these materials. So the probable cause statement that was used to get this search warrant was true because we found out what materials were there. So we really are in pretty unprecedented territory here, and I really do think that whoever the special master is would have their job cut out for them. But, as Danny said, it's a question of whether or not they're going to appeal this. Of course, if they did appeal this, they're going to be stuck with a bunch of Trump judges on that appeals court. And they've stacked the 11th court pretty well there as well. So, Donald Trump's going to have a good go potentially there. And then if this gets to the Supreme Court, he's also got a good outlook there, although there have been plenty of instances where the Supreme Court has ruled against him, if you want to look back to the 2020 election on all his false claims about the election, for example, there. But this is really a big question about what DOJ is going to do here, and they're facing a major decision about whether or not to appeal this.
Let's talk about who it could be then and how we're going to figure that out. So the judge gave Trump's legal team and the Department of Justice until Friday to name special master candidates. Walk us through just how that process works, and also what would that mean? What type of security clearances would that person mean, given the nature of the documents?
The answer to how the process works is good luck. The judge said these parties have to submit a joint filing. Do you know what that means? That means they have to agree. Can you imagine over the next week? Is it going to be by email? Are they going to have phone conferences? These two sides hate each other. How in the world are they going to agree on a joint filing of, yeah, here's a list of potential special masters, and we're fine with both of them? No way. The DOJ wants nothing but former judges who are former prosecutors, and the Trump team obviously wants anybody who is aligned with the Trump team in their view. That's their ideal special masters. So I am fascinated. We may never know the back and forth, but they have to file something this week.
Do we know what happens if they can't even come up with one name together?
That is a possibility. Yeah. I can see them getting to Wednesday and saying, and putting in a filing, essentially, Your Honor, we give up. Yeah. We just can't seem to agree on a list. I expect they'll come to an agreement, but I hold out hope that we'll see that filing, because that would be really interesting.
All right, Danny, Ryan, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Very interesting. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.